So if you watched the last video, you should know a little bit about the terminology, the words that we use to describe a spreadsheet, and you should have this little spreadsheet set up already. If you've missed out the first video, then just set this up for a start, starting in cell H5 and copying those details. What we said was that this represented a little spreadsheet where we've got 45 pupils. Each pupil is getting a grant of £5, and I wanted to work out the total grant. I'm going to work out the total grant in cell J6 using a formula. So far we've only looked at labels or text and numbers. Now we want a formula. And the formula is going to say multiply the contents of this cell, H6, by the contents of this cell, I6. Okay, so I go to the cell where I want the result to go. I enter the formula. And we start the formula off with the equal sign. And a formula always starts with equals. It's like a signal to Microsoft Excel telling it that whatever comes next is part of the formula. Okay, so equals first. Then I'm going to say I want to multiply the contents of H6, so I'm going to type H6, and I want to multiply the contents of H6. Notice that it's highlighted that once I've typed the cell reference. I want to multiply it. Now to put multiplied onto a spreadsheet, on the keyboard we use the star symbol. Okay, so if I press star, that now says equals H6 star, or multiplied by, the contents of I6. So I'm going to type I6, but you might have noticed this before. When I press the letter I, you get this little menu popping up. For now, we might use that later, but for now just ignore that. Keep typing. So I6. Okay? So that's my complete formula. And that's saying multiply the contents of H6, which is our 45, by the contents of I6, which is our number 5. And when I press enter, it carries that out and it puts the results in that cell, and the total is 225. Okay, so the total grant 225. Now a little earlier I looked at this line up here, and when I called it, I said I call that sometimes the editing line, but when I point at it, Excel tells us that that's the formula bar. Now you can see now why they call it the formula bar, because if I click where we've just put our formula, in the cell it shows the results of the formula, in this case 225. But on the formula bar up here, it actually shows the formula that we have used to get that result. Okay, so if I wanted to edit the formula, that's where I would go to. I'd click up here and I'd change that formula. Okay, I'll just click anywhere down here to just reset that, so it is back in there now. Okay, so we've done a simple formula to multiply two numbers together, or the contents of two cells together, to give it a proper description, and we've got that total 225. Have a go at that yourself. Once you've done that, move on to the next video and we'll look at a slightly more complicated example.